You guys are going to do fine on this because you've done fine on everything this year. So I don't anticipate any change here. Just this will be a big one. This is a big unit. The act of learning how to factor itself doesn't take too long. The mastery of factoring takes a little time. And then eventually we use factoring for a lot of different things in math. So this just becomes a skill. This eventually, like today, it's new. You're learning something new, but eventually it just becomes something that you just do. Like when we start solving quadratic equations and I'm like, just move everything to one side and factor it, that becomes like just commonplace. So today it's new and it's there's some basic important sort of things, some non-negotiables about this, and it's important today. Just ask lots of questions if you have them. I say I have 15 examples for us, but I don't intend that we're going to need to do them all, so we'll see. And I'm going to jump around. The way I see factoring is there's 3 different skill levels. And I don't want, the mistake I made for the first 24 years I taught was I started with level 1. And when you do that, people make connections that aren't supposed to be there. You'll hear yourself saying things today like, oh, I need 2 numbers that multiply to make 12 and add to make whatever. And that's what I want to get out of your head. And so I'm going to start you not with a level 1 problem, because level 1 makes us think that, oh, we found the shortcut. And the shortcut only works on level 1. So I've learned my lesson. So I'm going to start you out with just a mid-level problem. So I should probably check these off as I go here. So I'll explain to you what this process is once I put the problem up here on the board. So you would, of course, recognize this as an answer to one of last night's homework problems, right? So this is a quadratic trinomial, and there exist 2 linear binomials that if you had multiplied them together would give this answer. And the act, by the way, the act of factoring is literally to break something up using division. So you've been factoring since like the 4th grade, since your teacher put up like a number 24 and taught you guys to make, I know that every 4th or 3rd or 5th grade teacher does factor trees. I know it. And so like if your teacher put up like the number 24, you know how you could make a little tree and put like 4 times 6? Just that act is called factoring. 2 things that multiply together to make something else are called factors. So the verb factor is the act of doing that, and the things that you get that multiply together are nouns, factors. So factors can be nouns like physical things, or it can be a verb, the act of to factor. Got it? So our mission becomes, how could we write a multiplication problem whose answer would be what you see above? And so we always start factoring with these blank shells. And those shells eventually are going to contain the binomials that would have multiplied together to make what we need. And this just, some of you are going to get this very early today, and some of you are still going to be struggling with this by the middle of next week. And just accept that and don't give up. Don't feel dejected. They're just, again, there's some basic non-negotiables that we'll kind of try to hit as we go. So we first always want to focus on the first term. And the first term of my trinomial is 3x squared. So can anyone tell me then definitively what has to go here and here? Like, they both have to have x's. Could you be a little more specific? Excellent use of your math words. So let's agree that our first terms have to be this, and then let's talk about if you have any disagreement, that now would be a good time to voice that. Can you think of any other ways that I could multiply those two terms together? Now, mind you, yes, they both have to have x's. That's important. So if they both have to have x's, is there any other way for me to split up 3x squared other than 3x and 1x? That's an excellent point you make. And we won't go down that road. Like, we will never purposely break a positive into two negatives like that. But we'd be the first kid in 28 years to say that. But you're right. So let's not use negatives in the beginning. If our leading coefficient is positive on our trinomial, we're going to use leading coefficients that are positive. Is there any other way to make 3? There's not. 3 is what we call a prime number. So this is a sort of middle difficulty level problem because 3 is not a composite. When these problems get harder is if that had been like an 8x squared. Then we'd have to think about, well, now I have options, right? If it was 8x squared, then I could do like 8x and 1x or 4x and 2x. But with 3, 3's nice. It's a good start problem because he's prime, and there's just one way to do this, right? So this is the part where, it's my responsibility to say this the right way now, this next part, but it's your responsibility to hear it and tell me if it doesn't make sense. The next thing I need you to look at when you factor, the only thing I need you to look at is this sign. And you think about this for a second and tell me if you disagree. Again, feel free always to disagree. Whatever I put here and here, you know this from having done 26 of these last night, that will always be the last part of your multiplication, right? And there's always going to just be a number there in those two spots where the yellow connectors are. What has to be true about my two numbers if they're going to multiply to make a negative? How? Is there any way they could both be negatives? Is there any way they could both be positives? I still have juniors and seniors in Algebra 2 that I still talk about this with. And if that makes perfect sense, then we've already overcome a great hurdle here today. If the back number is a -4 or a -12 or a negative anything, then you and I must agree that one of these binomials is going to have a plus and one of them is going to have a minus. Now, am I sure that the plus is first and the minus is second? No. That's what erasers are for. And get used to using your eraser because factoring is the act of trial and error. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. And they're not the kind of mistakes where you lose points. They're just the kind of mistakes where you realize, oh, I tried that, it didn't work. I'll try something else. And then I'll try something else. So understand that eventually the plus and the minus might have to switch places, and that's okay. Now, let's consider the number that we're actually trying to make. In the back is the number 4. And there are 3 ways to multiply to make 4. Can you think of what they are? 2, so 2 and 2, 4 and 1, and what's the third? 1 and 4. And you might say, well, isn't that the same? And my answer to you, I'll show you in a minute, is definitely not the same. So let's think about this for a second. If I put 4 here and 1 here, I made -4. Woo, break out the party hats. But think about the dynamic that happens here. And you're going to see me drawing a lot of these. I call them the upside down rainbows, blue and green. I'll try to always be blue and green. So if I take my blue multiplication problem and my green multiplication problem, what is the blue answer? 4. And what is the green answer? And what is 4x minus 3x? It is. So you think a lot of times the mistake that people make when they're learning factoring is to say, well, 4 and 1 don't work. Well, 4 and 1 don't work in that location, right? But watch how the dynamic of the problem completely changes if I switch the 1 and the 4. If I move the 1 to this location and the 4 to this location, I'm not messing with the obvious. I'm still making -4. But look at the dynamic. What is the blue answer now? 1x. And what is the green answer? And what's 1x minus 12x? Which is exactly what we want. So don't you ever, as you get into the harder factoring problems, don't you ever try like 3 and 5 and then say, oh, it didn't work, and then move on to something else. Remember always that 3 and 5 can be rewritten whoop, as 5 and 3, and it changes the whole dynamic of how this thing works. So I'm not even going to waste my time trying 2 and 2 because we have completed our first factoring problem. And listen, people all the time say, hey, Mr. Aaron, can you check this and tell me if I did it right? And my answer is, sure, like I'm happy to check it, but this is one cool, unique time when you can literally grade your own paper. You know what I mean by that? If you think the answer is what I have in the white box, just check it. Multiply it back out like you practiced last night. And if it equals 3x squared minus 11x minus 4, jackpot. And there will always only be one answer to these. Never will Mari get one thing and Skylar will get another thing. And we'll say, oh, you both, that's weird. They're different, but you're, nope. There will be one way to do this. The only thing that can change is if the answer is 3x plus 1 times x minus 4, Skylar might have hers with the x minus 4 first and the 3x plus 1 second. Notice that structurally, this binomial and this binomial don't change. Just their relative locations change, and that doesn't matter. So that's the art, the act of factoring. We build the first term first, and then we consider the sign of the back term second, and then we trial and error until we get it right. Let's try another one. I'll stick with a level 2. I kind of liked how that felt. So let's do 5x squared minus 33x plus 18. So let's build our shells. And let's talk things we know. What do we know have to go in the front spots? 5x and 1x, right? There's just no other way. Again, because 5 is a prime number, so you don't have to worry about, boy, how else could I do that? Like, that's it. Now, if I look at the sign and back, I'm trying to train into you today the perfect order to think about factoring. There is a perfect order. Step 1, we built the front, yay for us. Step 2, look at the sign in the back. If the sign in the back is a plus, and this is where basic skills really, really will help or hurt. If I told you I was thinking of two numbers that made a positive, what could you tell me? Maybe. Do two negatives multiplied together make a positive? Do two positives multiplied together make a positive? Right. And so going into this, I know right away. Imagine you couldn't see that. Imagine I had never put the term in the middle. You would sit at this point in the process and say, I don't yet know everything, but I do know there's no way in God's green earth that there's a plus and a minus in there, because a plus and a minus would multiply to make a minus, right? Good factors will understand that the back number, the one I have circled in yellow, he gives me one critical piece of information. Your signs are the same, but it's not enough information, right? So how, Miss Orozco was right. How can we tell for sure that we have to use two minuses in this problem? Do you remember what was in the middle? Yeah. So you think about this. If there's a minus 33x in the middle and you pull this out, if I put in these red, if I put two pluses, I ask you this, wherever are you going to have an opportunity to get a minus 33 from? You don't. And so the back term isn't everything I need. He says, pick two that are the same. And then the middle term is like his backup plan that says, oh, I'll provide you further information. You need two minuses, right? So now the signs kind of work in tandem with each other. And so rather than putting plus plus, that would be a terrible move. I can now definitively say this. And this is important to me that we stop at this point and acknowledge that everything that's up there is 100% stuff that we know. It's not stuff we think or that we're pretty sure of. We know. And now it comes down to a guessing game. And this is where it's important, again, that you know your basics. Like if it takes you a long time to find numbers that multiply to make 18, you're going to struggle. I'm sorry for that. But you should all know, you're in high school, that the pairs, the factor pairs that make 18 are 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6, and then, of course, they're backwards versions, 6 and 3, 9 and 2, 18 and 1. If that takes you longer than 10 seconds, you really need to bust out some flashcards and get your poop in a group. You can rule out some pretty stupid answers, and I'm sorry, I'll take one for the team here and do this so you can mock me and laugh at me if you want to. But I hope you agree that putting this is not very bright. Why? Because the 18 pairs up with the 5. And what's 5 times 18? 90. And if you look at that and say, well, I way overshot 33. So it's within your realm of, like, it's within your rights to say, I don't like this one that I just crossed out, and I certainly don't like this one that I just crossed out. Because in both of those instances, if you put a number that's too big over here, like even a 9, then the 9 power plays up with the 5, and what do we get? And we've overshot the 33 already. You agree? So it's not completely like blind random guessing. There's an art to it. And so we go through now and we just start trying stuff. What would you like to try first? Sure. So let's put a 3 here and let's put a 6 here and let's see what happens. So again, the worst that can happen is it's wrong and you're like, oh, boo-hoo, and you erase it and you try something else. Like 3 down, 3 to go. Who cares? So let's check our blue-green pairs. What is blue? What is green? And what is negative 3x added to negative 30x? And we're done. You will have factoring problems, I kid you not, where it will take you 16 or 20 guesses before you get them right. And that's just par for the course. It doesn't mean you're dumb and it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. Factoring sometimes can just take time. Okay, let's up the difficulty level a little bit now, and you'll see, I hope, pretty quickly what I mean when I say that. So and don't worry, there's just going to be a ton of work time. Whatever's left today will be work. And then, of course, tomorrow will be a nice, big, chunky work day for you. So don't worry about that. Right away, why is this problem significantly more difficult than his predecessors? Because 6 is not a prime number. And so if I put this problem down in front of Levi and I say, hey, Levi, build your shells. And he's like, okay, what now? I'm going to sit there and stare at him and say, I don't want to put all my eggs in this basket. And because then if I don't find my combo, I'm going to feel like something's wrong. What else could I have done for my shells? 3x and 2x, right? And so a good factorer understands that there's more than one template. So like we can call this like template A and this template B. You don't have to name them. I'm just saying they're like totally different scenarios. Can you tell me what my signs have to be in this case? Both negatives? Are you sure? You're 100% sure. I'm glad to hear that. If the number in back is a positive, there's no way in the world that there's one of each. And then the sign in the middle says, well, you both got to be minuses. If you're going to multiply to make a plus and add to make a negative, you got to both be negatives. So we can get that off of our mind. And now we got to run through the list of factors of 12. 1, 12, 2, 6, 3, 4, 4, 3, 6, 2, 12, 1. And again, there are options that are dumber than others. Right? Anybody think they want to take a shot at it? 3 and 4. Yeah, like what's the worst that can happen if we pick them and they don't work? Like boo-hoo, right? So they don't work. So we put a 3 and a 4. And we're going to experience a fail, but I want you to get used to that flavor, that feeling of who cares? What's wrong? Try something else. So what does my blue combo make? Negative 3x. What does my green combo make? Negative 24x. Add those together, you get negative 27, and you're like, I missed the mark. So does that mean 3 and 4 are dead to us? No. Why don't we try switching them? Right? Who knows? What's my blue combo? Negative 4x and negative 18x, which make negative 22. We missed the mark again. So in the top template, we can say 3 and 4, you're dead to me. That doesn't mean that 3 and 4 are completely out because they might work in the bottom combo. So you have a choice to make at this point. Like, what kind of factor do you want to be? Do you want to try every possible combo in your first template? Or do you want to pick a pair of numbers and try them and milk them for all they're worth? Should we hold on to 3 and 4 and go to the bottom? Sure. And this way here, if we try 3 and 4 and they don't work again, we can say now 3 and 4, you're done. You're dead. You're not my guys. So let's take the 3 and the 4, knowing they're not going to work in the top template, and let's try them in the bottom. And again, in the bottom, I know I can put in my minuses. So let's try 3, 4. What's my inner combo make? Negative. I'm going to yell at you every time if you don't start saying your neg. Negative 6x. What does my outer combo make? Negative 12. If your inner's negative 6 and your outer's negative 12, add them and you get negative 18. And we're so close. Let's try switching 4 and 3. Maybe it'll work. What is my inner combo? Negative 8. What's my outer combo? Negative 9. So inner combo is negative 8x. Outer combo is negative 9x. Add negative 9x and negative 8x. What do you get? We're done. We've been pretty fortunate. We haven't had to try too many times. We're making good choices, right? Now, I want to show you what a level 1 problem looks like. And having sat through this now, you totally understand at this point how to factor. You should. You'll see now that level 1 is where we want to be careful, because the habits that we form in level 1 do not work for levels 2 and 3. So here's an example of a super easy level 1, like bottom of the barrel. Simple. So what makes this easier than easy? You just put your shells like this. And the math is so easy. What are my signs? Both pluses? We're sure? For sure. If they multiply to make a positive, they have to be the same. And if the number in the middle is a positive, well, that says it. They got to both be pluses. If you don't think in that order, you're going to struggle with factoring. You must look at the number in the back first. Now, you got a lot of numbers that make 24, but in this case, it's going to be easy because my blue and red rainbows are actually simple addition problems. There's no number in front of either of the x's to taint the process. So did you already find the numbers, I'm guessing? 6 and 4. Done. What's my blue combo make? What's my red or my green combo make? 6x and 4x make jackpot. Factoring. How about this one? Let's do another piece of cake level 1 problem. Build your shells. Tell me about the signs. It shouldn't be a guessing game. If you go rogue, you're just making it harder on yourself. They both have to be the same because the number in back is a positive. And then the number in the middle says, let me provide you with a little more specificity. My homie over here told you that they both have to be the same. I'll take it a step further and say you both have to be minuses. And what factors of 27 will work? 9 and 3. Okay. You feeling it? All right. Let's head another level. Well, how about this? I put the problem up on the board and you tell me what level it is. How's that? You can call them level 1, level 2, level 3. You can call them easy, medium, hard. I don't care. What would you say this is? Yeah. Why? 7's a prime, right? And so if 7's a prime, when I build my shells, when we build our shells, we're not going to sit around and like wonder if there's another template that could work. It's literally the only way to make 7 is 7 times 1. Tell me about my signs. You sure? Good. You should be. There has to be one of each. And you know what's fun about these ones is that I don't even give a rip about the guy in the middle. If the guy in back is a negative, that's all I need to see. I'm like, boom, one of each. Done. Game over. Again, I might have to switch them. Boo-hoo. No big deal. Now, the good news about this is that the number 1 in the back is pretty simple. You know, what's the only way to multiply to make 1? 1 and 1, right? Don't hurt yourself coming up with that. So let's put a 1 and a 1. So listen, you're not going to get any gold stars around here for figuring out that 7x and x made 7x squared. And you're not going to get any gold stars for figuring out that 1 and -1 made -1. Like, this isn't fifth grade. That's not where you earn your keep with factoring. You earn your keep by the things you don't control working. I wasn't in control of the blue-green result. What's blue answer? 1x. What's green answer? And what is 1x minus 7x? So I look at that and I go, hey, crikeys, I didn't want minus 6x. I wanted. So how do we fix that? You change your signs. Once you get the right number with the wrong sign, don't move anybody except the signs. Don't move 7x. Don't move 3, 4, 10. Don't move any of the good stuff. Once you get the right number and you just want to change the sign, just switch your plus and minus to a minus plus, and that changes the entire flow. Now what's my blue answer? -1x. And what's my green answer? And -1 plus 7 is, of course, jackpot. Okay, let's do another level 3. Hey, are you okay? You're not choking. I can hear you talking, so that must mean you're getting air. So I thought I had to do the Heineken maneuver on you or something. You know, 28 years, I've never had to do the Heineken maneuver. I'd like to keep it that way. All right. That's the Heineken maneuver. It is. I just think it's more fun to call it the Heineken maneuver. So level 3, right? And if I asked you why, you'd say because the 9 in the front is not a prime. This has nothing to do with the 40 in the back, right? For the number in the back doesn't determine difficulty level per se. We right away categorize it as easy, medium, or hard based on the number in front. So this earns its level 3 status by us saying this might be the template, or what else could be the template? 3x and 3x. Good. So as soon as you have multiple options for templates, then you know you're in the poopy zone, the level 3 zone. So let's get to it. Tell me about my signs.
It's going to be a positive.
You're sure?
Yeah.
100%?
Yeah.
Good, I agree. Sometimes I ask kids, why are you sure it's a positive and a negative? And kids will say things like, oh, because these are both negatives. And it just makes me want to punch a baby. I'm like, this has nothing to do with them both being negatives. It has only to do with the fact that he is a negative. The number in the middle is of no concern to me in a problem like this. So let's do it. 40 has a lot of factors. 40 is a super non-prime. 140, 220, 410, 58, flip-flop all those bad boys. Again, there are ridiculously stupid answers. Like here, I'll take one for the team. If I put 1 in 40, you deserve to laugh at me and mock me and point because that's negative 359x, for God's sake. So be smart about your choices as you start whittling it down. I can tell you I have most success. I found, having done a lot of these, I find I'm most successful if I start with the factors of my back number that are closest together. So like I'm not purposely going to start with 20 and 2 or 40 and 1. I'm going to start with 5 and 8 because they're the closest factor pair that makes 40. So what do you guys want to try? 5 and 8 with top template in that order? Who cares, right? Let's give it a shot. We realized that was a pretty drastic miss, right? Yeah. The 5x in the middle isn't what concerns me. It's that minus 72 on the outside that's like, okay, so that was no good. Let's chalk that up to a fail. Do you want to switch them? Sure. So let's keep with the 5 and the 8 and let's switch them. Whatever. I think it's an equally kind of bad choice if we do even this because that outer combo is really powerful. Negative 45 is pretty strong. So we can say 8 and 5 don't work in the top template. So let's keep 8 and 5, and let's go to the bottom, and then if they work, yay. If they don't, we can at least get them off our list. So let's try this. Let's go 5 and 8. Worst that can happen is it's wrong. Who cares? Fix it. What is my inner blue combo? 15. Nice. What is my outer green combo? And what is 15 minus 24? Jackpot. Done. Do you guys have any questions for me? You feel like you can do some of these? Okay. I think out of the 15 examples that I had scripted, I would guess, I didn't count them. You certainly could, but I feel like we probably did about 8. And I hope that's about enough for you. So your assignment is on Delta Math today. And then tomorrow we'll keep working on that, but I'll also have a worksheet, and the worksheet will be more difficult than the Delta. So today it's a scramble of all 3 levels. It should just be picking them and scrambling them up. You might get 3 level 3s in a row. You might get 5 level 1s in a row. It's just luck of the draw. Good luck to you, my friends. You can do this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a terrible answer. So don't ever just let's see. Here's what we're gonna do. You and I are gonna make a promise that this never happens again.
Okay.
So what you do, Jeff? What's on your?
Oh, because my mom, it just was my mom's office.
Oh. I thought you like bedazzled your teeth for a second.
No.
I was like, wow, you little gangsta. Oh boy, I'm still recording. I sound like such a moron. Here I am talking about your bedazzled teeth.